Horticulture writer, photographer, and Angies List Magazine columnist Ellen Goff of Lake Wylie, South Carolina, says that each spring, homeowners who love their landscapes in the southeast need to first inspect what has happened over the winter months.
You need to kind of figure out what's made it through and decide if you are going to need help in executing your plans for the coming growing season. Decide whether you need some landscape help because there are beds that you need to rejuvenate, whether you need to have help plant trees, whether you need a landscape architect, also whether you might need a garden designer, someone who can look at your existing beds and make recommendations for what you want to grow. It's wise to know when the last frost date is, because that really gives you a benchmark as when to expect the soil to start really warming up.
When selecting what to grow in your garden this season, Goff suggests using native plants for several important reasons.
I really like to incorporate a lot of native plants into the landscape because they actually feed the native population of insects and birds that do a lot of beneficial activities around your yard. Some of the native flowering plants, such as coreopsis or coneflower, which now comes in many different colors. Baptisia is a lovely blue in the springtime. And of course, milkweed, they call it butterfly weed, which is a lovely orange summer blooming plant, will encourage monarch butterflies into your yard to make it really, really lovely.
Using mulch is one way to help make your soil healthier and can add some aesthetic distinction to your yard as well.
Gardening really begins underground. A lot of people, I don't think, when they look at garden soil, appreciate that about half of it consists of solid materials, the majority of which are organic matter. We call it compost. And that's what the microorganisms and the earthworms and insects and everything else that make the garden soil fertile, that's what they eat. And the blend of air and water are really essential in adding to the fertility and allowing your plants to access the food they need to grow. What you use as a mulch is pretty much personal preference. It runs the gamut from pine straw and hardwood chunks to pine bark, and many people use compost as a mulch. You apply mulch in a layer of 2 to 4 inches generally. It tends to retain moisture in the soil. It moderates the heat so you don't get wide temperature swings, and that protects the microorganisms and helps them keep doing their work. It also protects your topsoil so you don't experience any wind or rain erosion.
Above all else, Goff urges everyone to not be afraid of failure, as that's part of the landscaping learning process.
There's an old saying that you really don't know how to grow a plant until you've killed it at least once or twice. Be fearless. Don't be afraid to experiment. We learn every day, and I think that's what makes gardening so rewarding.